Welcome to the Global News Podcast on YouTube, where we go behind the headlines to find out more about a story and why it matters. The winner of this year's Nobel Peace Prize, María Corina Machado, will make an appearance in Oslo, despite having been in hiding for months. The Venezuelan opposition leader was unable to make it to today's awards ceremony, but her daughter, Corina Sosa, accepted the prize in her stead and gave the speech Machado had prepared. We're joined today by Norberto Paredes from BBC Mundo. Norberto, you've met María Corina Machado. Tell us about her.
So she went into hiding in August last year after the election that was held in July. She was part of the election, and then there were protests after the Electoral Council came out and said that Maduro had won the election, but they did not provide any evidence to support that claim. But what the government didn't know was that María Corina Machado was collecting the tallies, and she published them. And these tallies showed that the opposition leader, Edmundo González, had actually won the election. So she, after many people went out to protest in Caracas, more than 2,000 people were arrested, and one of them was, they tried to arrest her as well. She had to go into hiding, so we have not seen her since January, actually, this year, when she came out for the first time since August to take part in a protest against the government.
Because Venezuelan opposition leaders who do fall into the hands of the authorities, it can be very dangerous.
Yes. So just over last weekend, actually, as you might have heard, there was this opposition leader who was a former governor of a northern state in Venezuela. He died in jail. He was put into jail in November last year. And he died, the government says he died of a heart attack. Critics say he was tortured in prison, in an infamous prison in Caracas. So Venezuelan people have seen what happens to many people who oppose the government. So they don't really go out to protest anymore. And that's why María Corina Machado had to go into hiding.
And there had been speculation about whether she would be able to travel to Norway at all.
Yes, she's kept us guessing since yesterday. Yesterday morning, they said she would even give a press conference yesterday. And then it was postponed. Then they had to cancel it. Just last night, we thought she would be here. She would be in Oslo. She would be in Oslo giving her speech and accepting the prize. It was only this morning when she said that she could not make it to the ceremony, but she was going to be in Oslo later today.
Because just the logistics of getting out of the country are quite a thing. And when she eventually tries to get back again, that'll be difficult too.
Yes, we don't know, and we might never know how she got out of the country, because the government has been looking for her for quite a long time, since August last year. She probably had to smuggle into Colombia and then take a flight from Bogota to Oslo. But yeah, that's a very important question for the opposition. How does she go back to Venezuela, and how does she keep fighting for her movement and the democracy movement in Venezuela in exile?
Yeah, you've met her. What's she like as a person?
She's a very charismatic leader. I followed her in the streets of Caracas last year when she was campaigning, and you have to see how people love her in Venezuela. I saw people crying. I saw people, as soon as she was walking down the street, people would call her my queen, my love. So she's cultivated this figure, this like mother figure for many Venezuelans. And she's very charismatic. She's a very good communicator. She knows how to talk to the press. She knows how to talk to people and to relate to Venezuelan problems, which was a challenge for her because it's not always been this way. 10 years ago, she was She was not liked by most of the opposition and most of Venezuelan people because many people believed in the narrative told by the government that she was this woman who was born rich and she could not relate to the average Venezuelan who is struggling to make ends meet. So, but what she's done is huge in the sense that she's managed to revive, re-energize the opposition in Venezuela after they did not believe that there was a future without Maduro. Like many people didn't think that it was possible to topple him because Maduro controls many institutions in Venezuela, including the Electoral Council. His people control it, and that's why she's been advocating for fair and free elections, and Trump's government has been doing that as well.
She takes enormous risks to lead the opposition in Venezuela, enormous personal risks. Why do you think she does it?
Well, she's told, her daughter said that she believes in a better future for her, and she believes that she wants to live with her family in Venezuela. She doesn't want, like, María Corina Machado's children live abroad, and her mom had to leave the country last year and move to Spain because she was harassed by the authorities. So María Corina Machado believes in a Venezuela where the opposition can reveal the institutions. She believes in going back to this country that Venezuela used to be 20 years ago. Venezuela once had the strongest democracy in Latin America. It was once one of the richest countries in Latin America only 20 years ago. And we have lost all this. With the country that Venezuela is now is very different to the Venezuela that existed in 2007. So she does all this because she believes that there's a way, and she believes in a better Venezuela, and she wants to give this to people that believe in her, that now are millions of people.
She has come under some criticism for not condemning the US strikes on alleged Venezuelan drug smuggling boats. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, she's received a lot of criticism. Many people don't think that she deserved the Nobel Prize because her speech has not always been a pacifist one. She's called for foreign intervention, whatever that means. She's avoided to use the words invasion. She's never used it. She's been very careful not to use it.
Yeah, people have called her a US stooge.
But when I interviewed her in October, right after it was announced that she had won the prize, and she said a very interesting thing, which is that she called for a liberation. She called for Trump to come and liberate the country. She argued that that Maduro had already invaded the country with Russian spies and Cuban agents. So she needed for the U.S. to come and liberate the country and liberate the country's institutions. So many people, you can interpret that as you might, but many people say this is a call for an invasion, and for a Nobel Peace Prize to say this is controversial.
Last question. There's a track record of opposition leaders who win the Nobel Peace Prize going on to be the leaders of their country. Do you think it will happen in María Corina Machado's case?
It's hard to know. Venezuelan people do like her. According to polls, there are not that many, but Maduro's support is low, is very low. Maduro doesn't have the same support he used to have when he took power in 2013. And
there are real questions over whether he really won the election.
Last year's election was very odd because the government never provided evidence of what they claimed, which was odd because the government had always provided numbers that the opposition has said they had been rigged before, but this time they didn't bother to recount the tallies or tell a figure or say in Caracas the opposition got this and Maduro got this. They just said a number and that was it. So the question on whether María Corina Machado will be the president of Venezuela is a difficult one. I think it depends on, and she knows it. It depends on Trump. It depends on whether Trump wants how much is Trump willing to help her and help the Venezuelan opposition in his what he calls a war against drug traffickers, in which he includes the Venezuelan president, who is accused of leading a cartel, the Cartel de los Soles.
And she has to survive.
Yes, as well. And she probably will have to come to Venezuela. And the question remains, how will she be able to do that? Because she is now considered a fugitive in Venezuela.
Thanks, Norberto. Norberto Paredes from BBC Mundo. And for more on this story, you can listen to the Global News podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your BBC podcasts. You can also subscribe to us here on YouTube. And if you have an idea for a story you think we ought to cover, do leave a comment below.